All right, folks, here we are. Well, what's today? The day before New Year's Eve. So 2017 is just about over, and we're going to head into the new year, which means Oscar nominations are coming up closer than ever. We are getting down really to the last few weeks. We're less than a month away now, actually, from the announcement of the nominations. And anyway, so today we're going to talk about BAFTA nomination possibilities and some early predictions there. So that's really just what we're going to talk about here. But before that, a couple things out of the way. First of all, thank you to all the new subscribers, new viewers, everybody who comes out now to watch the videos. Really, thank you for sitting down and watching these. Even if you watch them just for a couple minutes, I don't know, gives me a little bit of pride and self-confidence there. And also, just hit 10,000 plus views on the channel for the lifetime views. Took me 5 years, but whatever, it works. So thank you again for that. All right. Second of all, I'm starting to catch up now on actually watching the movies that I'm predicting. There's still a few out there I haven't seen, like Shape of Water. I haven't seen Post. I haven't seen. Haven't seen the Florida Project yet. Darkest Hour. Still haven't seen Mudbound. That's on Netflix. I can watch that anytime. But for whatever reason, it's escaped my viewing there. Phantom Thread. I haven't seen yet. Molly's Game. All the Money in the World. I haven't seen Downsizing yet. Trying to think of what else. Greatest Showman. A couple of these other ones that might not be Best Picture contenders, but maybe they'll get a few odd nominations here and there. But I have seen recently. I've seen I, Tonya, Call Me by Your Name, Last Flag Flying. Don't want to tell you how you get mad at me, but I've seen them, and I don't know. Just before we get into it here, I really, really dug I, Tonya. I thought it was such a fun movie. Really funny in some parts, really dramatic in some other scenes. Probably the best performance I've ever seen from Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan. They were both terrific. Their chemistry was so-so, but I guess that was kind of the point of the movie, was they kind of didn't get along, and that was kind of the point. And Allison Janney just flat out gives just a great performance as the worst mother of the year. It's and you almost it kind of reminds me of Jennifer Lawrence in American Hustle. It's like every time she goes off screen, you're like, oh, I can't wait for Allison Janney to get back on the screen. It kind of gives you that similar vibe there. Maybe even more so than in that movie, where it is a supporting performance for sure, but it's like, man, it gives it just all the attention, all the energy is just focused right on that performance, and it's really great. Yeah, and then Call Me by Your Name, I saw that one as well. I'll tell you what, this movie, when it first started, I was like, I don't know, and it grew on me as the movie went. And actually, by the third act, I was really, really invested in the characters. And I think the third act of that movie is probably better than most third acts of any movie this year, especially when we get to that Michael Stuhlbarg scene. It's where he gives the speech to his son and kind of just has that big emotional moment. It is phenomenally well done. And Timothée Chalamet, I think, is, I'd say watch out for him. He's probably going to be the next Marvel or DC star, and that gets an Oscar nomination out of this movie. He might even win the award come March, but he was terrific. Armie Hammer was great. Stuhlbarg, yeah, it's mainly just that one scene, and everything else he's just kind of there. But and that's one thing. I've taken him out for my Best Supporting Actor nomination here, mainly because that final scene. I mean, it's like in the last 10-15 minutes of the movie. By that point, if you're not on board to the movie, if you're a voter, you've taken your screener out, you're done, you don't care, you're going to vote somewhere else. So I think that's why he doesn't get nominated. But Armie Hammer, I could actually, yeah, I can see him getting in. I don't know if he can win, but he can definitely be nominated for sure. And I think again, it's probably his best performance to date. Well, Social Network, he was really great in that, and he had two roles technically in that, so that was pretty good. And again, when we got to the very final scene, I thought was really, really well done. It's a beautifully shot movie. The cinematography is really great. A lot of long shots that are really, really cinematic and look really great on screen. And the delicacy of the story and the thing that really caught me about it, though, that made me really like it more than, say, Moonlight last year, which had a similar, not the exact same, obviously, but a similar subject matter, was it was more, this one was actually, for me, more of a coming-of-age story than a gay romance story. Not to say that's all that Moonlight was. Obviously, there was a lot more going on there. But for me, it's like the coming-of-age story really, really sunk in with me. And I really like coming-of-age stories, so I was, I'm easily impressed by those, but still. Really great movie overall, and yeah, it's not probably going to end up in my top 10 list or anything, but it's certainly one that's like on the outskirts there looking in. And then I did see Last Flag Flying, which early on I thought was going to be one of my it's one of my more anticipated films of the year because it's kind of a sequel, like a I forget what they call it now, spiritual sequel or whatever to Last Detail. Which the Last Detail, if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. It's phenomenal. But it's like not really. I mean, obviously it's different characters and everything. And I mean, it's a movie that is so hit and miss. It's like one minute you're really riveted, you're really entertained. All the three main actors are giving some of their best performances yet, and then it's like, oh, what are we doing here? It's like 10 minutes later and nothing has happened. And it just bounces back and forth so much between interesting and not interesting that I ended up just not caring by the end what happened to anybody. And even the final scene, which is supposed to be this really dramatic moment and supposed to be this really heartbreaking kind of moment, I just kind of like, okay, that's the end of the movie, I guess. And it just didn't land with me. And it's too bad because it's Richard Linklater. He's a great writer director. He's got an excellent cast. Bryan Cranston, I think he does a good job. Steve Carell does a good job. Lawrence Fishburne does a good job. But it's just they're not. It's just I don't know. It's just so uneven that it ended up getting pretty boring for me. So that one, yeah, I it's obviously its Oscar chances are pretty much done by this point. But I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so now the main reason you're here, we're talking about BAFTA predictions, and normally Gold Derby has some like a predictions page or whatever. They haven't put one up yet, so I just kind of makeshift did my own. So there's that. And one thing too we have to remember is sometimes at BAFTA we do have films that qualify for the Oscars, but they're not released or screened in time for BAFTA. So sometimes you'll have a movie like Dallas Buyers Club was a recent one. There's a couple other ones, but they're not coming to my mind right now. But usually they don't play at BAFTA, but they still end up winning the Oscar and stuff like that. So I think I, Tonya is one, and Phantom Thread might be another one. I do have Phantom Thread getting in for a couple nominations here, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. I have to do a little further research on that one because I see that it opens up Phantom Thread. That is, it opens up the same weekend for release in the UK that it does for their award ceremony for BAFTA. So I don't know if it qualifies, or I don't know if they'll have screeners or whatever, or I'm not 100% on how the process works over there. So that one maybe it gets nothing because it didn't qualify. The same with I, Tonya, which I see that opens actually I think right after the ceremony or something. Yeah, again, I'm not a big BAFTA and aficionado when it comes to that. So in that regard, you kind of have to take these nominations with a little bit of a grain of salt. The Post, I think, is one that also could end up in trouble here because of that. We'll see. But I think everything else that I'm going to list here is opened or is about to open and shouldn't have too big of a problem getting nominated here. So we'll see. Okay, we'll start out with the... actually, no, let's start out... I was going to start out with the top category. Let's work our way from the bottom up. So we start with the adapted screenplay category. Okay, so the 5 nominees I have getting in there are Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Molly's Game, Mudbound, and Victoria and Abdul. Now, at the Oscars, I do have Mudbound pulled out and Victoria and Abdul pulled out because I just don't think they're going to get nominated. One thing with Mudbound, I think it's the Netflix factor. I've still been saying that since day one, and I'm just not going to predict it. I just don't think they're over their. I just don't think that they're over their bias when it comes to the old guard of the Academy, the older members. So, in that respect, I'm going to take that out for Oscar predictions. And also Victoria and Abdul, since I don't have it getting into anything at the Oscars, and I don't think it's... it came out in September, and it played well then, but it's not really sticking to memory very well. But at the same time, since it is, about Queen Victoria in her later years, it's Judi Dench, it's, all these other things, I think it will do very, very well at BAFTA. And I believe it is, it qualifies for the, there's the award they have there for Best British Film. I think it could easily win that if it doesn't go to, say, Three Billboards, which has British crew, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, some of those more obvious ones probably will be nominated there. But yeah, I could see them, saying, "Hey, we like this movie enough," and it did very well financially over there in the UK. So yeah, we'll see. Some other possible nominees for adapted screenplay have All the Money in the World, Wonder, and Blade Runner 2049. I don't know. I think the style, I haven't seen the movie yet, but from what I've heard, the style of the movie and the storytelling, that could maybe appeal to more of the British voters than it will over here in the US. And Wonder, I do have nominated from one of those slots at the Oscars. I actually have Last Flag Flying as that final adapted screenplay slot. But I don't know. Yeah, adapted screenplay is really tough this year because it's like you have three solid contenders with Call Me by Your Name, Disaster Artist, and Molly's Game. Then after that, if you don't have Mudbound in like me, then it's like, oh, where do you go? Where do you go? It's like there's nothing else. And the original screenplay, as I've been saying all year, has just been so overcrowded. It'd be really easy because I know Darkest Hour at one point was over and adapted, then they pulled it back over to original. I guess it did. There was a qualification question or whatever. Now, if something happens here in the next couple of weeks and all of a sudden we realize that Darkest Hour, oh, it's actually adapted, that's the best thing that can happen for that movie, and I think that will easily take up one of those slots. But we'll have to see on that. Okay, speaking of original screenplay, here at BAFTA I have Get Out, Lady Bird, The Post, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri getting in. Those are the same five I have at the Oscars, so I'll play it safe there. But as far as other nominees, potential nominees go, I have Phantom Thread, Darkest Hour, The Big Sick, and The Florida Project down. Especially for me, the top two there, Phantom Thread and Darkest Hour. Especially since I have both of those doing fairly well in the other categories here. Plus, especially Darkest Hour, I can see that one being nominated for more BAFTAs than it is at the Oscars. Similar things happened with Carol and Bridge of Spies a couple years ago. Was there one last year? Well, obviously there was the. I'm trying to think. I can't remember what it was, but it was the one. It was the British film last year that got like 6 or 7 BAFTA nominations, and it didn't even qualify for the Oscars. But I can't remember the title right now. But obviously, if unless we have something like that, then I think Darkest Hour is going to be one of those that really does well at the BAFTAs and gets a few nominations here and there at the Oscars. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yeah. So again, those other two main contenders there, and then we'll see Big Sick. I don't know if it will necessarily be up their alley. The same with Florida Project, especially since it has Florida in the title, and so such an American movie. But then again, I guess we have the same argument for Three Billboards, right? Anyways, but we'll see about those. Okay, now for the supporting races. For Best Supporting Actress, I have Hong Chow for Downsizing, Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. And again, this is going off the assumption that I have that I, Tonya, is not qualifying in time. So that's why I have Allison Janney not there. But we could also see Mary J. Blige get nominated for Mudbound. She's made it in everywhere else that she could up to this point. And also Kristen Scott Thomas for Darkest Hour. I know early on I put her in, and a lot of other people did too. But I think it's just I haven't seen the film yet, so what I've heard is she doesn't have enough screen time or really a big dramatic scene or anything that gets her the nomination. But we'll see. We'll see with that one. Okay, moving on to supporting actor. I have Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Armie Hammer, Call Me by Your Name, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Ben Mendelsohn for Darkest Hour, and Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Yeah, here's another example of what I said with Darkest Hour doing well. Ben Mendelsohn I can see getting in. He plays King George the Sixth, or yeah, whoever that was. The same guy Colin Firth played in The King's Speech. And yeah, so I can see him getting in over Michael Stuhlbarg, over Woody Harrelson, over even Christopher Plummer, who are kind of the other three guys I'm looking at for one of those spots at the Oscars. Right now I have Woody Harrelson getting in, but those other four, I think, are very safe with Dafoe, Hammer, Jenkins, and Rockwell at the Oscars. And yeah, I don't see way too many possibilities here otherwise at BAFTA. But just name off a couple. Yeah, Christopher Plummer, All the Money in the World. Mark Rylance, I can actually see getting in for Dunkirk. And Dunkirk, again, maybe, just maybe, could perform better at BAFTA than it does at the Oscars, since it is set in Britain, or set in France, technically. But of course, it's all the British Army and the Navy and the Air Force, and it's again, it's a British war story. So of course, it's. I could even see a scenario where Dunkirk wins film, director, I don't necessarily see, yeah, it's not going to get in for screenplay, but it wins all sorts of tech categories, sweeps BAFTA right before the Oscars, and then everybody gets worried that Dunkirk's all of a sudden going to win Best Picture again. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I did name Stuhlbarg and Harrelson here for their respective roles, and then also I can see Michael Shannon getting in for Shape of Water. We'll see how much they like it. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a scenario where everywhere we go this year, except Globe so far, that you have a double nominee from a certain film in every other award show. We'll have to see, but that's one I wanted to throw out there. Okay, for lead actress, I have Judi Dench for Victoria and Abdul, Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep for The Post. So again, the I, Tonya thing kicks out Margot Robbie. And even if I, Tonya does qualify, even if it gets in for Allison Janney, and maybe even screenplay is a possibility in that case, because I think the script is also really great for that movie. Even if it does, I can see Margot Robbie missing because you've got Judi Dench, who's royalty at BAFTA. I did check; she and Meryl Streep. I think if you discount the TV stuff that Judi Dench was nominated for, cut those out. She and Meryl are the top two most nominated actresses ever at BAFTA, to my knowledge. At least I looked up a little bit on that, so I can see her getting in. Obviously, Streep gets in for The Post. Saoirse Ronan, I think, is the other three are I think the three that are going to beat it out for the Oscars or beat it out, compete for the Oscars. I guess I don't know. That's not a good way to put it, is it? Anyway, so but yeah, this one I think these five I'm set on, but a couple other ones to throw out there. Obviously Margot Robbie, then Michelle Williams for All the Money in the World, Emma Stone, Battle of the Sexes, Jessica Chastain for Molly's Game, and well, we got to consider even though she wasn't nominated at the Globes, but Kate Winslet for Wonder Wheel is also one, they might do a really weird pick, something like that. So we'll see. Okay, moving over to Best Actor, I have Timothée Chalamet. I've heard Timothée, I've heard Timothy, I've heard all the different pronunciations, so we'll see. For Call Me By Your Name, James Franco for The Disaster Artist, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Tom Hanks for The Post, and Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. So yeah, I don't have the other one. Obviously, I take at the Oscars, I take Tom Hanks out. I put Daniel Kaluuya in for Get Out. I don't know how well Get Out is going to play for the Brits. I could be dead wrong about this, but I don't think it's going to do as well at BAFTA as it does at the Oscars. I can see it getting nominated for screenplay and nothing else, or I could see it getting left out entirely. But I don't know if I see it being nominated as one of the five best films. I don't necessarily see Jordan Peele getting in. I don't see a supporting actress nomination for Keener or supporting actor for Bradley Whitford or lead actress or supporting whatever they end up doing for Allison Williams. So I don't see any other acting support. And I don't know about the crafts, like the technical categories. Film editing might be about it. Even though, yeah, the music is great and it's well shot and everything. But yeah, that's the thing. This movie is such a wild card this year. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I do. Again, I do. Since the SAGs and everything, I do have it in for picture. I have it in for actor. I have it in for screenplay and editing. But outside of those four, I don't see it getting anything else at the Oscars except maybe director. And even then, it's going to be in a very close battle there. But some other possibilities here also would be Andrew Garfield for Breathe. They really like Andrew Garfield. And since Breathe is all about, it's a kind of a British historical movie, I could see them liking that. I don't know, because who's the lead actress? Claire Foy in that. She went originally supporting at the Oscars before the movie totally tanked, but she might, I'll mention her in case she gets in for supporting actress for Breathe, but it's, I don't know, it's one I think it's gone off everybody's radar. James McAvoy for Split is one I have down. Again, I don't know about this one. It's, again, kind of a wild card. It came out in January, screened last November at AFI, so it's been around a while. And James McAvoy is British, so that's something to consider there. But I don't know. I just kind of threw it in there as a wild card, and also Denzel Washington for Roma J. Israel. He's been nominated just about everywhere else he can. I think he missed out a Critics' Choice, but still, the BAFTA does not like Denzel. They do not like Denzel. They didn't even nominate him last year for Fences. He's never been nominated, period, over here at BAFTA. So I don't see this being the first one that he gets nominated for. Okay, moving on. Best Director now. Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. Martin McDonagh for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Steven Spielberg for The Post, and Joe Wright for Darkest Hour. Those are the 5 I have in. Yeah, so I don't have Greta Gerwig getting in it for Lady Bird. That's one again. I can see since it is mainly set in Sacramento, and then it does move to New York for a little bit. It's mainly set in the U.S. I don't know if that necessarily appeals to them or not. We'll have to see. I mean, obviously, if it played well for them, it played well for them. They'll put it in wherever they can, but I don't know. Then Jordan Peele, I do have as a possibility for Get Out. Listen to this one, Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner 2049. Again, if they go for it, that's one I can see them kind of going for here. Also, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, Stephen Frears for Victoria and Abdul, Luca Guadagnino for Call Me by Your Name, and we've got Ridley Scott for All the Money in the World. I have him down. He is a Brit. He's kind of he's a legend. To my recollection, he's never won a BAFTA either. He's been nominated a few times for sure, but to my recollection, he hasn't ever won for director. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, so that's one. I don't know if he's going to win for that if he gets in, but hey, he got in for Director of the Globe, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll see about that one. Okay, then for Best Film, I have Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, The Post, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri as my 5. Now, since, Darkest Hour and Dunkirk go together, I can see one of them missing, and they could go for something else like Lady Bird or Call Me by Your Name or Get Out or Victoria and Abdul if they really go for those. Then also The Post. It is an American story, again, doesn't really conflict much with British history or anything, and if they want to, award a slot or two for more British set films, they've got Darkest Hour and Dunkirk there. And Shape of Water, I believe, is set in the U.S., so that one that doesn't qualify there for that little thing there. Usually they want to nominate at least one that's set in Britain or, all that. But anyways, that's not the most important thing here. Anyways, so the rest of them, I think The Post, they really like Spielberg. Like, Bridge of Spies really overperformed here a couple years ago. And Spielberg got in for director, and everybody, I think, except Tom Hanks, got nominated here at BAFTA. Mark Rylance won. It was nominated as one of the 5 best films. It was nominated for, the sound category and for cinematography and everything they could throw got nominated there. So I see The Post getting in despite that. And then, again, some other possibilities. Lady Bird, Get Out, Call Me by Your Name, The Big Sick, Victoria and Abdul, Florida Project, and Phantom Thread. Again, if Phantom Thread doesn't screen in time, that could be one that we just have to leave out. But yeah, so those are some early picks there for BAFTA. And again, we don't know. The nominations are coming out here. Oh, is it 2 weeks from? Oh, I think it's a week from this coming Tuesday. So Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it is. But I'm over here in the U.S., so they announce them at like 2 o'clock our time or 1 o'clock our time, whatever it is, in the morning. So that one, it's kind of tricky to do live reactions since it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep. You don't want to wake anybody up. So we'll see if I'm able to do that. And actually, last time I wanted to do a live reactions, it was SAG, and I had the internet connection was just terrible that day. But I'll be back. I'll be back at college then, so internet shouldn't be a problem in that case. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it just depends what day it is, what time they get announced, all that, how long it takes, how much we would have to talk about it. Yeah, we'll wait till we get closer here. But I believe the date, as I pull up my calendar here, I think it's January 8th or 9th, or maybe the 10th or something. Yeah, it'd be nice to let you know. But yeah, it's coming up here, not next week, but the week after, early in the week. And yeah, we'll see. Like I said during the SAG video, I think Best Actress, we could get some real help here from BAFTA. Like if Judi Dench misses for whatever reason and Margot Robbie gets in, or Michelle Williams or something, that could really solidify our Best Actress race. Yeah, we'll see what they do with supporting actor, if they put Plummer in or not. We'll see what they do about the double nominees potentially for Call Me by Your Name, the double possible nominees for Three Billboards. We'll see if they like downsizing. We'll see if they put I, Tonya into anything or Phantom Thread into anything. So yeah, we'll have to see here. But yeah, it's kind of just wanted to throw out some early predictions there. And also, while I'm here, I'm going to mention that I've made a lot of changes now as far as which is more likely to win in the different categories for the Oscars. Some significant changes here since SAG, and I've had some time to marinate on it, and I've had a couple other films that I've seen. So yeah, I'll do an update for the Oscar predictions here, probably in the next couple days. So all right, until then. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope everybody had a great Christmas or whatever the other holidays you celebrate. Kwanzaa or Hanukkah. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but I'm just from a Christian family, so it's always been Christmas. But yeah, and of course, Happy New Year to everybody as well. And go into the new year safe and don't drive drunk, whatever you do.